Question 41. Nation state is synonymous with A. Nationalism, B. Self-actualization, C. Liberation, D. Sovereignty. What do you think the correct answer is? Let's see. The correct answer is D. Sovereignty. What is sovereignty? Sovereignty is actually the ability of a state to control its affairs without external influence or control. So when you say nation states, you're referring to the sovereignty of the state, which is the ability of the state to control its affairs without external influence. Question 42. A fundamental component of political culture is A. Economic values, B. Social values, C. Community structure, D. Family values. What's the correct answer? Let's see. Well, the correct answer is B. Social values. Now, social values influences the political culture of the citizens of a given state. Question 43. A form of oligarchy in which gifted people are at the helm of affairs is A. Gerontocracy, B. Aristocracy, C. Plutocracy, D. Theocracy. What's the correct answer? Let's see. The correct answer is B. Aristocracy. Now, what is oligarchy? Oligarchy is actually a system of government where few people lead. And we have different types of oligarchy. We have the plutocracy, government by few. We have the gerontocracy, government by the old people. We have theocracy, government by religious leaders. And we also have aristocracy. In aristocracy, gifted people, or the aristocrats, which are the nobles, are the ones at the helm of affairs. So in that kind of oligarchy, where only gifted people rule, it's called aristocracy. And the rulers are known as the aristocrats. They are usually from noble families or the wealthy class. Question 44. A state that is ruled by an elected citizen is A. An empire, B. A monarchy, C. A republic, D. A plutocracy. What do you think the answer is? Well, let's see. The correct answer is C, which is a republic. In a republic, the power is vested in the people, that's the electorate, and their elected representative. Question 45. A true democracy in the modern sense exists where the A. Elite rules, B. Elected representatives rule, C. Majority of the people votes, D. Majority of the people rule. What's the answer? Let's see. Correct answer is B. Elected representatives rule. Remember I said democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So in a democracy, in the real sense of it, the people rule through their elected representatives. So in every true democracy, elected representatives rule on behalf of the electorate or the masses. Question 46. In a parliamentary system, when the legislature passes a vote of no confidence on the executive, it means that the A. Legislature commences legal proceeding, B. Executive is expected to go on suspension, C. Executive is required to resign, D. Legislature ceases to trust the executive. What do you think the answer is? Well, the correct answer is C. And a quick run to checks and balances. Now, checks and balances ensures that no arm of government abuses their power. So a vote of no confidence is used by the legislative arm to check the excesses of the executive arm in the parliamentary system. So when the vote of no confidence is passed by the legislature, the executive is meant to resign from their office. Question 47. The legislative body of the United States of America is the A. The Council, B. The Parliament, C. The Congress, D. National Assembly. What do you think the correct answer is? Let's see. The correct answer is C. Congress. The United States legislature is called the Congress, and it is made of the House of Representatives and the Senate. Question 48. Unicameralism is a feature of the legislature in A. Ghana, B. Israel, C. The United Kingdom, D. The United States. What do you think the answer is? Let's see. The correct answer is A. Ghana. Now, what is unicameralism, if I may ask? Unicameralism, as the name implies, it's gotten from two root words, uni and camera. Uni means one, and then camera meaning chamber. So in a unicameral legislature, we have just one chamber, and this is the type of legislature that is practiced in Ghana. So unicameralism supports one chamber as against bicameralism, where we have the existence of more than one chamber. Question 49. The upper house in most federal systems is created to A. Enable experienced elders make inputs to governance. B. Ensure equality of federating units. C. Oversee and check the lower house. D. Prevent excesses of the executive. What do you think the answer is? I'll show you. The correct answer is D. To prevent the excesses of the executive. Now, it's believed that it's believed that with the existence of two houses, the upper and the lower house, it's been very difficult for the executive to influence both houses, which is the upper and the lower. So in other words, the existence of the upper house checks the excesses of the executive arm of government. Question 50. In which of the following systems is the power of the component units more than that of the central government? A. Confederal, B. Monarchical, C. Unitary, D. Federal. What do you think the answer is? Well, the correct answer is A. Confederal, and this takes us to systems of government. We have the federal, we have the confederal, we have the monarchical, we have the unitary, and so on. Now, a quick run. In the federal system of government, we have the federal and the states, with the federal exercising authority over the states and the local governments. But in a confederal system of government, has a weak central government. If a confederal system of government has a weak central government, meaning the states are autonomous, the states exercise power greater than that of the central government, which explains why secession is allowed in a confederacy, as against the federal government, where secession is seen as treason. Question 51. One of the general tenets of fascist doctrine is that the leader is A. Subordinate to the norms of the society, B. Supreme relative to the constitution, C. Subordinate to the laws of the state, D. Weak relative to the constitution. What do you think the answer is? Well, the answer is B. Supreme relative to the constitution, and this takes us to fascism. Now, whenever I hear the word fascism, what comes to my mind is a dictator. Now, in every fascist system, there is a dictator. Remember, in every fascist government, there is the existence of a dictator who wields absolute power. Now, in a fascist system believes that some people are supreme above the constitution, which negates the principle of rule of law, which states that everyone is equal before the law. Now, a fascist system magnifies nationalism while paying no attention to the rule of law, which states that everyone is equal before the law. So the answer would be supreme relative to the constitution. A fascist believes he is supreme. A fascist leader believes he is supreme to the constitution. Question 52. In a cabinet system of government, executive power is exercised by the A. Dominant party, B. Head of government, C. President, D. Monarch. Can you give it a try? Let's see. The correct answer is B. Head of government. Now, in a cabinet system of government, we have the head of state and the head of government. The head of state is usually a ceremonial head, while the executive function is vested in the head of government. So we have the head of state and head of government in a cabinet system, but the executive power is vested in the head of government and not the head of state. The head of state is just a ceremonial head, but the executive function is carried out by the head of government. Question 53. The principle of separation of powers is best practiced in A. Feudal system, B. Presidential system, B. Presidential system, C. Monarchical system, D. Parliamentary system. Can you guess what the answer is? Well, let's see. The correct answer would be B. Presidential system. Now this takes us back to separation of power. Remember I said separation of power is the division of power among the three organs of government to ensure checks and balances of power among the three arms of government. In a presidential system of government, there is the existence of checks and balances. And this is made possible through the rule of law. Question 54. A typical form of delegated legislation is A. A bylaw, B. An act, C. A decree, D. A bill. Well, let's see. The correct answer is A. A bylaw. Now, bylaws are usually made by the local government. A delegated legislation is a legislation that is carried out by an arm different from the legislature that is charged with the sole responsibility of making laws. So if a law is coming from a different arm, if a law is not made by the legislative arm of government, that is delegated. The legislation is said, if a law is not made by the legislative arm of government, the legislation is said to be delegated. And a very good example of such a delegated legislation and a very good example of such a delegated legislation is the bylaw, which is usually made at local government level. Question 55. The rights of a citizen can be withdrawn by the state if the person is A. Pronounced dead, B. Opposes the government violently, C. Convicted of a serious crime, D. Leaves the country permanently. Let's see what the answer is. Well, the correct answer is C. Convicted of a serious crime. This takes us to the fundamental human rights. Fundamental human rights are inalienable rights that are enjoyed by the citizens of a particular country. This right is spelled in Section 4 of the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria. Now, according to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is the UDHR, everyone is entitled to this right. These rights are basic to every individual. But there are instances where these rights can be taken from a person. We have so many rights. We have the right to life, right to freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom to own immovable property anywhere in the country, freedom of association. We have so many of them. But there are instances where these rights can be taken from a citizen. And one of such instances, it's when a citizen is convicted of a serious crime. Once a person is guilty of a serious crime, say for instance, a citizen commits murder, in such instance, the citizen can be apprehended by the government. And at that point, you can say his freedom of movement is infringed because the person will be sent to jail in some instances. So in such instances where a citizen commits a serious crime, is convicted of a serious crime, the rights of that person can be taken away by the government. Question 56. An electoral process in which candidates are selected for elective offices by party members is A. General election, B. Primary election, C. By-election, D. Electoral college. Can you guess what the answer is? Well, let's see. The correct answer is B. Primary election. Primary election is usually an in-house thing. It's usually among party members. The party members come together to pick someone that would be representing the party in an election. So in a primary election, a person is appointed by members of his party to contest in an election on behalf of the party. Question 58. Question 57. In theory, one major advantage of the one-party system is that A. It guarantees social justice. B. Eliminates intra-party conflicts. C. Promotes greater mass participation in government. D. Serves as an instrument of national integration. Well, the correct answer would be D. It serves as an instrument of national integration. Now, one-party system is the opposite of multi-party system. In a one-party system, as the name implies, there is just one political party and everyone contests under that party. The beautiful thing about this, it aside the fact that it saves resources, it encourages national cohesion. There have been instances where parties have polarized the nation. We see a political party being dominated by a particular tribe or region. So, but in instances where we have just the political party, there is national cohesion, there is unity, because everyone comes under that political party to contest for elections, as against the multi-party systems where there are instances of polarizations on different lines. It could be based on religion, regions, tribes, and the likes. Question 58. A tactic employed by pressure groups to achieve their objective is A. Lobbying, B. Memorandum, C. Propaganda, D. Electioneering campaign. What do you think the answer is? Well, the correct answer is A. Lobbying. Now, lobbying is an attempt to influence the decisions of the government. Now, it could be via written or oral communication. It could be written, it could be oral. But lobbying, the goal of lobbying is to influence decisions. Question 59. Public opinion can be measured through A. Rumor, B. Negotiation, C. Strike action, D. Referendum. Well, the answer is D. Referendum. Now, referendum is used to measure the opinion of the public, to ascertain the opinion of the public. And another name for referendum is opinion poll. The opinion poll. It is used to ascertain public opinion. Question 60. Which of the following is the main function of the civil service? A. Mobilizing grassroots support for government. B. Implementing government policies. C. Supporting the party in power. D. Allocating resources to the federating units. What do you think the answer is? Well, the correct answer is B. Implementing government policies. Implementing government policies. Now, it's not the responsibility of the civil service to support government or contest elections or favor a party. No, they are there to implement the policies of the government in power without taking sides. So with that, we've come to the end of government. Thank you.